Hey man, this is R.C. Blakes, and I am so excited to be able to come and to share with you once again. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Thank you for liking my videos. It really helps me to reach more people just in, a greater way. So I really appreciate you for following, or should I say subscribing. I appreciate you for liking my videos. I love all of the messages you send me by way of the communication on the YouTube thing there, where you can talk to me and let me know what your thoughts are. I really appreciate all of that. I want today to discuss something that's really been on my heart for a while, and it's the subject of soulmates, because there are a lot of thoughts about soulmates, and the Bible is not necessarily crystal clear as it pertains to what a soulmate is, but I believe that there are little hints and there are nuggets. I believe that there are inferences where we can glean some understanding of what this phenomenon called soulmates or a soulmate is, because all of us should be functioning at the deepest dimensions of relationship. In areas like marriage, we should be functioning, ideally with soulmates. All or not, but ideally, we should be functioning, we should be living our lives ideally with our soulmate. But for whatever reason or another, we jumped the gun too soon, or we made some bad choices, and we end up with something less than God's best. But let's discuss this thing, soulmate. Someone who is aligned with your soul. Someone who is aligned with your soul, and we're going to define what soul specifically means in a minute, and is sent to challenge, awaken, and stir different parts of you in order for your soul to transcend to a higher level of consciousness and awareness. Okay, someone who's aligned with your soul and is sent to challenge, awaken, and stir different parts of you in order for your soul to transcend to a higher level of consciousness and awareness. Here, let's move forward. A soulmate is a person that matches your purpose and passion. A soulmate is a person that matches your purpose and passion. They understand you and they live to push you. They maximize you without diminishing you. They complement you because they complement you internally. They complement you. They're right for you. They get you because they complement you internally. Now, I said something here. A soulmate is a person that matches your purpose and passion. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that your soulmate walks in your particular vein or in your particular lane, but your soulmate is a person that has all of the skills, all of the expertise, the insight, the revelation, however you want to call it, to equip you, to empower you, to maximize your purpose and to fulfill your passion. In Genesis 2:7, it says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." Now, soul speaks of intellect, will, and emotion. Soul speaks of intellect, will, and emotion. We see here in Genesis 2:7 that Adam became a living soul. Adam developed intellect, will, and emotion. So your soulmate is a person that connects with you internally. Now, that helps us right there. If we said nothing more than that, it helps a lot of us right there, because most of our relationships are developed from the externals of the person. And then we wonder why they can't fulfill us internally. It's because we did not develop those relationships in or on the dimension or on the level of in the dimensions of the soul. We develop most of our relationships in the dimensions of the flesh and the lust thereof. Now, it's interesting that God, you cannot get away from Genesis. You just, especially when you're talking about relationships, you cannot get away from Genesis. We learn so much from Adam and Eve, but it's interesting that God made the animals, all of the animals, male and female together. He made them, and he made them strictly to procreate, to produce after their kind. He made male and female cows, male and female lions, to produce after their kind. They were strictly made, animals were strictly made to reproduce. When God thinks about Adam or man, and God's idea of Adam having a relationship or a mate, he has something deeper in mind. If you look in Genesis 2:18, it says, "And the Lord God said." Now, we just talked about how he made the animals all at the same time, male and female, for the strict purposes of just procreation, having sex and making babies and reproducing themselves. In Genesis 2:18, we see that God has something deeper in mind when it comes down to mankind and relationship. It says, "And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him." Oh, that's a powerful statement right there. I will make him an helpmeet for him. God doesn't say that he's making Adam a sex partner. Doesn't say he's making Adam strictly a sex partner. It doesn't say that he's creating for Adam just a co-parent. God says, it's not good for him to be alone. Why is it not good for him to be alone? Because he has a soul. He has a will, an intellect, and he has emotion. So God says, I will make for him an helpmeet, because Adam needed help. Relationships are supposed to help. A relationship is supposed to help. A soulmate always has, listen to this, I wonder if this is my soulmate. A soulmate always has capacity to help you. Now, the person you're thinking about right now, let's just ask that one simple question: can they help me? And this goes both ways. Adam was the first human being, so God created for Adam an helpmeet. But the principle goes both ways. If a relationship with an individual does not help you, that individual cannot be your soulmate. If that individual does not stir your intellect, come on now, does not make you even healthier emotionally, that person is not your soulmate. If a relationship does not have the capacity to help you, you're more than likely developing a soul tie, and not this, Okay, let me finish. A relationship, this is what we have to understand. A relationship may be sexually exciting and never be helpful. Most people who are in deep relationships, in committed relationships, well, so-called committed relationships, not even married in some cases, but these relationships have gone to the lengths of being sexual, are with people who can't even help them. And they don't really need a revelation on that. They can observe the relationship and see that she can't help me, he can't help me. Only a soulmate can help you. Let me say that one more time. Only a soulmate can help you. Only a soulmate can help you rise to your greatest potential. It will only be a soulmate that will empower you to actualize and to maximize all that God has put in you. Only a soulmate. Other relationships have expiration dates. Soulmates are for life. Now watch this. Your soulmate is a person that gets you. Your soulmate is a person that gets you without explanation. They're so connected to your internals, they get you, you know. They get you. I won't use that. A soulmate isn't only compatible with you, but they have chemistry with you. They have chemistry and compatibility. And in a lot of relationships, you're either compatible and no chemistry. On paper, y'all look good, or y'all have chemistry, but you're really not compatible. A soulmate is compatible, and a soulmate has chemistry with you. Number one, you cannot identify your soulmate until you are aware of who you are. You cannot identify your soulmate until you have done the exploration of your own soul. Most of you, or most people, should I say, don't even know who they are. And you're trying to make relational choices without even having a formal introduction to yourself. You don't even know who you are. Adam and Eve discovered each other after they had obviously explored their individuality. Because, as I say all the time, God made the other animals, he made the animals male and female together. But when it came down to man, he made them separate. He made male, and then later he created female. Because anything that has a soul has to master individuality. You have to know yourself. How can one be true to him or herself if that person does not know him or herself? And before one can identify a soulmate, one must identify who I am. If you don't know who you are, I suggest to you that you should not be in the market for any kind of relationship. And if you are, watch this, if you are desperate for a relationship, before you know who you are, you have a clearer view now that you really don't know who you are. Because when you discover who you are, it creates a contentment in who God has made you, what he's created you to do. You're so preoccupied with the assignments that God has put upon your life that you don't have time to grieve that you don't have an individual in your life, another individual in your life. You must learn to explore yourself before you try to open yourself to someone else. Before you try to choose a mate, you need to know, who am I? How do you know what you need until you know who you are? In 1 Timothy 6:6, he says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. When you learn to be content, even by yourself, it is then that your perspective on individuals and life and what's good and what's right and what's fit and proper for you, it is made even the more sharper. Your discernment is made even the more keen when you have the wisdom to do self-discovery before you try to discover someone else to be in your life. Soulmates are discovered, listen to this very carefully. Soulmates are discovered within personal contentment. Soulmates are discovered within personal contentment. Now, what does that mean? That means when you come to the place where you can say, you know, I'm good. I know who I am. I know what I'm here for. I know what my vision is. I know where I'm going. I know what my goals are. And I would love to have somebody in my life, but if that never happens, it's not the end of the world for me. I'm content in what God has put in me as an individual. that is usually the time that you discover your soulmate. Now watch this. Soul ties are developed out of personal insecurities. Soulmates are discovered, soul ties are developed. Soulmates are discovered out of personal contentment. Soul ties are developed out of personal insecurities. I don't want to be by myself. I'm scared to be alone. What is it going to look like? I'm 35 and I'm not married, and all of this kind of stuff. You begin to develop soul ties. But when you come to a place where you are content with discovering, with self-discovery, it is then that you qualify for someone else to come into your life. All right, number 2, soulmates pursue you as much as you pursue them. Soulmates pursue you as much as you pursue them. If you're with a person and you're having to do all of the calling, you're having to do all of the planning for the dates, and you're having to do it all, and this person is making excuses of why they cannot go out tonight or why they cannot be with you on a certain event, you may need to rethink that, because a soulmate will be a person that will pursue you as hard as you pursue them. And especially for women, your soulmate is going to be a man that will break down walls to spend time with you. I don't care how successful he is. I don't care how much money he makes, how busy he is. When you find your soulmate, he will cut off other things, other important things even, to spend time with you. Your soulmate will be one that will pursue you. Now, not sexually. Your soulmate is going to be an individual that is going to love your mind, going to love your personality, is going to love your vision, is going to be able to see where you're going, and will see him or herself fitting into that future. The relationship starts on a foundation of things, being attracted to things internally. And when that person is attracted to your internals, that person develops a pursuit of you that is undeniable. And watch this. That pursuit will last and endure the test of time. I say to people all the time, anybody can start well, but can they finish? Can they continue? Can they endure? This is why you take your time in relationships, is because some people start out acting. But if you just allow time to go, and if you measure the pace of that relationship, they'll fall off. But your soulmate is going to be so into you because they get you. Come on. That they're going to be in pursuit of you. You all will be calling each other at the same time, thinking about one another and wanting to go and spend time together, just to sit and laugh and talk and have conversation. Soulmates, watch this. Soulmate connections are marked with equal investment. This is all under number 2. A soulmate pursues you as much as you pursue them. Soulmate connections are marked with equal investment. You're not giving it all. It's an equal investment. And when I say equal, I'm not, quantifying that relative to metrics, numbers, or size, but equal investment as it pertains to energies and as it pertains to sacrifice. You may have more to sacrifice than I do, but percentage-wise, we're sacrificing equally. You may have given 100 of your 1,000, and I may have given 10 of my 100. But when you look at the percentages, we are sacrificing equally, because we are what? Soulmates. We're connected from the inside. I get you, you get me. There's something that we can't even explain. Now, a soulmate is a person that you will not have to run behind, because they will pursue you again as much as you pursue them. A soulmate is a person that you will not be able you will not be able to easily get rid of, because they recognize, as you recognize, there's something special about you. There's something special about us, and they won't go away. They won't quit on the relationship because they feel it just like you feel it. If you're constantly dating people that are in and out, up and down, hot and cold, that they're not soulmates. Your soulmate is a person, watch this, that will pursue you as much as you pursue them, and they will pursue you lifelong. 20 years of marriage, they'll still be in pursuit of you like they were the first day they saw you. 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, you're still holding hands because you're what? Soulmates. You get one another. It's not based on, this relationship is not based on some, frivolous, lustful, external, gravitational pull to flesh. But this is something that is based on two people who are connected and are equally yoked, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally connected. Number 3, soulmates are purpose-driven connections. Now listen to this very carefully. A soulmate is a person that you will have, watch this, because the idea is that, the false idea is that soulmate relationships are relationships where there's never any tension. It's just always like the movies, we wake up with our hair and every hair in place and makeup on, and the wind is blowing through and the shears are flying in the wind. No. Sometimes soulmate relationships have tension. Sometimes soulmate relationships have tension because the soulmate naturally pushes you into your best version. They are wired to see your potential and to help you to fulfill it. So sometimes the soulmate relationship creates tension. Sometimes your soulmate gets on your nerves because they're constantly, it's like they're obsessed with the best version of me and what I can do and what I can be. And they're just constantly cheering, and they're constantly pushing, and they're constantly helping and reminding you of who you're created to be. And in Genesis, let's see. Well, let's not go there. If we go to Proverbs 27:6, it says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Now, what's the wisdom there? The wisdom there is that there are people in your life who love you and have your best interests at heart, even when they say things to get on your nerves. Reading it again, faithful are the wounds of a friend. Some people God puts in your life that will hurt you to help you or to empower you. And it goes on to say, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. These are people who tell you what you want to hear, even though they know that it's leading you down a road of destruction. But your soulmate is a person that will wound you to improve you. So sometimes your soulmate can be lovingly irritating. Now, this is an area where we as men have to understand what's going on when God gives us soulmates, when God puts women in our lives who are actual soulmates, women who are not, just there, just good people, but these are women that are created to really understand us, to know us, to help us. Come on now. When God sends a woman into your life to help you, you can't allow that little fella called ego to get in the way of that relationship. God will send the woman in with a set of skills that can empower your business, empower your vision, your life, and there your ego telling you about you losing your manhood. Man, learn to submit and learn how to, learn how to receive. Learn how to receive the gift of a soulmate. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron. See, your soulmate is one of like kind. And whenever you see iron sharpening iron, the mental picture is what? Friction. You see sparks flying, but progress is being made. Sometimes your soulmate relationship creates tension, but that tension is leading to a better place of purpose. Under number 3 again, and point number 3 is soulmates are purpose-driven connections. Soulmates are never jealous or insecure about your potential. They're never jealous or insecure about your potential because they understand the purpose of the relationship. And the reason they can appreciate your purpose is because they know their own. The reason they can celebrate your success is because they know that they either have or will have their own success. And at the same time, because this is a soulmate connection, you're celebrating them as much as they're celebrating you. So there's no room for jealousy or insecurity in a soulmate connection. Number 4, you cannot identify a soulmate living on a sexual frequency. The question I get more than anything is always centered around, well, probably the second or third question I get is centered around sex. Because when we go to talking about the biblical or the Christian ethic of abstinence, people say, well, you know, how am I going to know if it's going to be what I need it to be for the rest of my life, speaking sexually? You cannot identify a soulmate while living on a sexual frequency. Sexual imbalance is most frequently the cause of forfeiting soulmate connections and developing soul ties. Now, what do I mean by that? Quite often, when we're not wise, we're carried away with with the sexual tension between two individuals. You're carried away with the sex appeal of an individual, which does what? Steers you completely away from the internals of the individual. And as a consequence, sometimes you're running into soulmates, but because you've been conditioned to approach relationships from a perspective of what is sexually exciting, many times you miss the people, or the person, should I say, that is ideally established to be a soulmate to you, because you're trying to discern a person through sexual lenses, and sex will always cloud your vision. Sex will always cloud your vision. See, for you to discover a soulmate, you have to get to a place where you look beyond the sexuality and you're looking to the mentality and the spirituality of the individual, and you develop those internal connections. And now what's the power of that? The power of that is, for anybody who really knows anything about life and relationships, especially, covenant sexual relationships like marriage, the reality is this: great sex is not based on physicality all of the time. Great sex in marriage is based on having a connection with a person mentally and spiritually. When a person, especially for a woman, when a man that's called your husband really gets you and understands you and supports you, and you feel that connection, you're automatically turned on for this guy. Now, initially, he may not have been the best, your number one choice from a physical prototype standpoint. But because you kind of grew up and matured, you realize that I got to have more than muscles and haircuts. And so you chose him based on his internals, and now you discover that this man turns you on more than any other man that you may have had in your past ever did. It's because great sex within the context of marriage is always about mental stimulation and having that spiritual connection. That's where Samson went wrong in Judges 14, 1-3. Lost his strength, lost his eyes, his sight, and all of that kind of thing, and was humiliated because he had this sexual tension between he and Delilah. She wasn't his soulmate. He was just drawn to her sexually. And he forsook all of his, all of his principles, all of his standards. He forsook the will of God to pursue this woman because he was drawn to her sexually. You cannot identify a soulmate while living on a sexual frequency. If you've not gotten to a place where you have begun to master your sexuality, you then know that you have some growth that needs to take place spiritually. And I'm not judging you because I've been there. I've gone through all of this. And most of you that's, probably listening to me right now, you can testify that in your own life, you've seen how sex has caused you to create one car wreck after another. It's because you cannot identify a soulmate in the middle of a mattress. Praise the Lord. Soul ties are created randomly through fleshly impulses. Soul ties are created randomly through fleshly impulses. Soul mates are discovered through intentional evaluation and discernment. See, even when you first meet a person, though you see a person and you like the way they look, that's just, that's just to draw you together. But now you got to be wise enough to shift this thing to another dimension. You got to bring this thing deeper than the flesh, the external, because the external is not going to last anyway. You got to start looking at this person's mind. You got to start analyzing and discerning this person's spirit. I don't know if this is making sense to y'all. Soulmates, as I just said, make the greatest lovers because the best sex is mental. And when a person is connected to you mentally, when you and a person have chemistry mentally, trust me, once y'all get down to the little physical stuff, now, there's a whole lot of stuff I could say right there, but all things being equal, brothers sometimes need to go and get, some help. You're a certain age, physically, you may be incapacitated to some extent. Well, a doctor can help you. But trust me, if y'all connected, if y'all on the same frequency, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, in terms of your vision and your future, man, the physical stuff will be explosive. And if you flip the script, you can have a person that you're totally turned on by physically that's not connected to you spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and not long after that flame blows out because you're a living soul. You have to be connected to a person that's going to really be able to fulfill you and, maintain that fire. That person is going to have to be connected to your internals. You can have the finest woman in the world, the cutest guy in the land. But if there's no connection in here or from here, pretty soon that relationship, that thing there is going to die off. Now, the soul tie still be there, and your body might still crave the sex, but you'll be craving the sex and unfulfilled all at the same time. But you have to understand that you cannot identify a soulmate living on a sexual frequency. You got to break that sexual addiction. And the only way to break it, the way I did it, God allowed me to live a span of my life as a single man, living out abstinence. And the way I did it was I just stopped doing it. And I refused to give that flesh what it desired. And I just let that flesh die. And a week went by, 2 weeks went by. And I started discovering, as I increased my prayer life and my spirituality, I started to discover that I was gaining power over my flesh. And before long, I had such control over my flesh in that area. And I had been sexually active for many, many years. That by the time I got ready to marry Lisa, I didn't know if, I was trying to figure out if I was, how you start this thing up again. You know what I mean? So it's possible, because the only way to identify your soulmate is to be in a place where your head is not, and your spirit is not cluttered or polluted with illicit sexuality. Now, number 5, and I'm done. You cannot discover a soulmate until you are running the race of purpose. You cannot discover a soulmate until you are running the race of purpose. And that's it. I'm done. You have to be in a position where you are fulfilling your purpose to know who should be alongside you. If you are not presently running the race of purpose, you do not know who should be alongside you. But when you begin to run the race of purpose, it is then that you can say, this is the kind of person that most of you don't even know what kind of person you should entertain. It's because you're so consumed with a relationship that you're forsaking your purpose. And the reality is your purpose has to come before any relationship. And any relationship that comes before your purpose, the chances are great that it's not going to work. Because you need to know your purpose. You need to be in your purpose before you try to choose someone to fit into your life or your world. You will identify your soulmate while you run the race of purpose. Now, how is that going to happen? They will be able to keep your pace and they will be going in your direction. Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? See, they're gonna come alongside like joggers in the park. You're gonna be running and they're gonna come alongside and you're gonna see them going in the same direction and they're gonna be going at the same pace. You're not going to slow down for them to keep up. They're not going to be going in a different direction than you. You're going to be going in the same direction at the same pace. You're going to look and say, oh, I might have something here. Well, she doesn't look quite like, what I ideally want, but man, she has, I like her conversation. Or he doesn't, he's not tall as I would like, but man, I'm feeling his spirituality. I'm loving his vision because you're going in the same direction at the same pace.